From the Stillwater Fever Dog 73 tour bus, it's the DigiGods. And now, please welcome two bell-bottom golden gods singing Tiny Dancer, Wade Major and Mark Kaiser.
I like Tiny Dancer. Corey, who sent that one in for us, please?
That was sent in by Mario Mendez, who is by now almost famous. See what I did?
That was see what he did? He called back
Wade?
Yeah. Welcome back, Mark.
You know what I'm doing right now instead of paying attention to what you're saying?
I invented a hashtag for you. It was hashtag Loverboy.
What?
Yeah. No one used it.
Based on what?
The fact that, you're romancing on both sides of the Atlantic. You're a lover boy.
It is true. I was in Paris 3 weeks ago. No, I was in Paris 4 weeks ago.
Whatever it was, yeah.
And my girlfriend was here 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And she's not voting for Le Pen. Putting it out there.
Anyway, how have you been?
Well,
Paris
I
good?
think Paris is great. You know what?
Yeah.
Paris is the best.
It is, isn't it?
I really would like to move there. If I get a job, I would move there.
I
I wouldn't sell my home and give up everything I own and go to Paris, but if I got a job, I'd go.
And speaking of, after all the making fun of me about Colcoa, this and that and so forth, who's on the Colcoa jury this year?
That'd be me.
That's right.
No, here's the thing. So
it's fun, isn't it?
So Wade has been on the jury of the City of Light, City of Angels Film Festival. And it's funny, it's an exclusively French film festival, but this year there's 2 Italian films.
Well, it started getting more international last year already. And I think it just speaks to the way the French film industry, more foreign directors are making French films, more French films are being shot in other countries. Mustang, Dupont, they're dealing with issues that are relative to other cultures as France becomes a much more international hub, So, I just think that's the natural evolution of French cinema.
So I talked to the program director, right?
Yeah, Francois.
And I said, look, I would like to do it. I would love to do it. First of all, because it would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, because as a guy with a French girlfriend who's trying to move to France, it would be like a little thing. It's another little notch in my French bedpost, right? To be able to talk to French people, maybe French employers, French film people. Hey, I was on a film jury for Colco. Oh yeah, French. Oh, you. So they would understand that I like France. I get France, whatever.
Yeah.
But I had to let him know that. It's 30 films in 2 weeks.
Yeah. And
can I not see a film? Can I not show up to the festival? Like, what's the minimum I can do to be an effective juror?
And it is as you are finding out, the jury is kind of an organism. You talk to other jurors, people will watch a movie and go, "Oh, this was a terrible movie," or you even talk to people just in advance, and you will get a sense that at least half of those 30 films don't have a shot in hell of getting a consensus from your jury. Well, so you may as well just excise half of them right out of the gate.
Well, Francois was nice enough to give us, I think, 4 films that he's like, these will never win ever in the entire world. Don't even bother. Yeah. Including Raid, Special Unit. Yeah. That horrible Danny Boone film.
Which I didn't dislike. I actually, it's one of his lesser films.
That woman was terrible. Where did he get it? He must be sleeping with her because she's terrible.
I think she's a bit of a thing in France at the moment. But she's no Melissa McCarthy. That's for sure.
The French need Melissa McCarthy.
They do.
So I've watched probably 25 films. I've got another couple. I'm actually coming in for a landing. I think by tomorrow. I think I will have watched everything. And then Monday we're going to get together. Yeah. At some Persian restaurant in Westwood. Yep. Which is equidistant between the folks who live in Santa Monica and the jury members who live in the Valley. We'll get together in some Persian restaurant, and in Westwood, which is the town where UCLA is. In Westwood, there's a strip of very good Persian restaurants.
It's Little Persia.
So we'll meet at one of those, and then just do whatever Bob Kohler wants.
You realize my daughter's favorite food is Persian food. Like, she asks for it every week. You go, "Here, what are you hungry for?" Persian food. 4-year-old asking for Persian food.
And you give it to her, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. We go to Daria, and I grab some juicy chicken.
Carnival.
Juicy chicken. No, Carnival is Lebanese. She loves that too. Anything from the Fertile Crescent general area, Middle East, she loves. She's like her parents. She loves Middle Eastern food.
So I've seen one or two really terrific films, a lot of blah, and a couple of bad ones.
Yeah, and I know you loved a woman's story.
I think A Woman's Life is going to win.
A Woman's Life, yes.
A Woman's Life's going to win. Bob loves it. I love it.
Stéphane Brisé, who wrote and directed, of course, did Mademoiselle Chambon and A Few Hours of Spring, and the last Vincent Lindon film that won him Best Actor at Cannes, and he worked with Vincent Lindon 3 times in a row. Brisé is amazing, and he had 2 events. I moderated. He's been on 3 events at Colcoa this week. I moderated 2 of them. Lael, who was on Film Week with me yesterday, moderated the Woman's Life event, and he's just delightful. He is. I did they screened his second film, which is also beautiful, and we did a whole hour after that, and the audience just loved him. He's so charming. He's so incredibly charming.
There's there might be a ground.
Did you watch Slack Bay, the Bruno Dumont movie?
Yes, I watched Slack Bay.
I had to talk about that on Film Week yesterday too.
So Slack Bay is essentially if Monty Python made a Tati film, it would be Slack Bay.
Yeah,
I didn't like it. You know why?
No one likes it.
Because after like an hour and 45 minutes, you're like, I get it, you're weird. I get it. Okay, move on.
Well, that's the thing with Bruno Dumont. Bruno. See, I moderated the Meet the Delegation panel this year, which is where you have as many people as you can cluster together on one panel who are have films there, and I have to sort of manage 50 minutes and make sure everybody gets their piece of 50 minutes, and it's pretty intimidating because you got I think I had 6 or 7 people up on stage with 2 translators, so it chews up time pretty quickly, and you got to give people their due. And the last time I did it was about 4 or 5 years ago. The last time Bruno had a film there. And my first question Bruno used to insult everyone else on the panel. Now, the translator, Robin, was at the other end, and she and I looked at each other and looked at the French speakers in the front row with this look of panic, like, what do we do? This is going south fast. And Robin somehow, she translated gold and took all the venom out of it.
Wait, so what did the guy say?
Oh, he's something to the effect of, it's, when you're the only person up on this stage who's a real artist. It was something like that. It was sort of like.
Was he being cheeky or funny? Or was he trying to be just?
Bruno is Bruno. That's who he is. And this week, and I agreed to do it again because I thought, well, I haven't done it for a few years. I think I got that out of my system. And then I found out Bruno was on the panel again. I thought, oh no, here we go again. And he was on his best behavior this year. He sat there and he kind of brooded a little bit, but. Claude Lelouch was there, and he's very self-effacing, and everybody else, including Brisé and the other filmmakers, they were all just saying, well, we wouldn't be here if not for Lelouch. And they were sort of laying wreaths at his feet, and he was all sort of embarrassed, and, it was a big Lelouch love session, and Bruno just kind of sat there very broodingly and dealt with it, and then he said a nice thing about Lelouch himself, so that was all good.
Lelouch, who has a film at the festival.
Yeah, Lelouch is...
It's fun, man. I like his film.
I do, too.
Well, we wouldn't give it anything, but we like him.
It's a fun film.
So anyway, Open at Night, Mr. and Mrs. Edelman.
Yeah.
Stuff maybe you've heard of.
So, Mark, before we get on with the show, I'm having a breakfast crisis. gods@digigods.com. Email us your suggestions, gods@digigods.com. I'm having a midlife breakfast crisis. So I'm not going to have cereal anymore because it's too caloric and sugary and processed. Waffles too carby to have every single day. Same with pancakes. I gain weight if I do that. Don't want to do that. Bacon and sausages. I don't eat beef or pork, so there's none of that unless it's turkey based, and that will get tiresome very quickly. And there's really, there's really nothing else. The eggs. I love eggs, but I can't have eggs every day. So I don't know what to have for breakfast anymore.
You know what Severine does when she's here?
Huh?
This is what she does. In fact, you're seeing it a little bit.
Yeah.
Bread.
Yeah.
With some butter.
Yeah.
Honey on top.
Yeah.
Tea. Some kind of fruit. The end.
It's not a bad idea. I think I might do that. I made some crepes the other day. I didn't do them as well as I think Severine does them, but I was quite happy with how I did them.
But do you have a crepe pan from France?
Not from France, but I do have a crepe pan.
Yeah, mine's from France. Brought over by a French woman in her luggage.
All right, well, let's get on with this. Let's get on with this crazy show. Yeah. So, what's happened in the last week or so? It's movies.
The Rockford Files is on Blu-ray.
Right?
Come on.
Totally.
I could not believe on the Rockford Files that every week was a different message on his machine.
Yeah.
By the way, when the show started, like 10 minutes ago,
Yeah.
before we spend 10 minutes talking about crap that the listener doesn't care about,
Yeah.
I was on Amazon
Yeah.
pre-ordering Blu-ray Heat.
Yeah. A Warner film that's coming out from Fox now because of all that weird Regency rights stuff. It's
Which,
very
by the way,
interesting.
you probably have and are not going to give me.
No, I haven't gotten it yet.
I'm going to buy it.
So anyway, the first thing out of the gate, just want to make mention because they sent this to us, and we know we have a lot of people who are big fans of wrestling. So the WWE book of top tens, title matches, epic rivalries, finishing moves, and much more. This is kind of an excuse just to throw a lot of wrestling stuff into a semi-soft cover book. It's this is a coffee table book for people to just laugh at. Like Mark, come on, look at the graphics. Somebody had a lot of fun with this, right?
I don't know why they
Every
even make
page
those.
is-
You can go online and get the same information.
Yeah, but it's like put on a
Crap for
coffee.
kids.
It's to put on a coffee table. It's just for it's a thing. Why not? For fans.
Put a
it's
coffee table in your double wide.
what if the electricity goes out? Then you can't go online. Then you got to resort to ancient primitive things like books.
Well, yeah. Well, and of course they're not reading Madame Bovary.
Yeah.
They're reading at WW. By the way, I'm reading Madame Bovary right now.
Are you?
I am.
A lot
Never read
of similarities with the Brisé film with de Maupassant.
Oh,
With a woman's life.
yeah.
There are certain similarities.
true.
Yeah.
Although Bovary does the cheating.
Yes, but in terms of that Victorian era literature from France and England,
yeah.
where like Persuasion in the UK by Jane Austen is sort of in there. So is Jane Eyre a little bit. I mean, the Brontes and Austen and Maupassant, and they all sort of are doing the same thing. Bovary, right? They're all kind of in the same general
Good.
area. Yeah,
It's a good
it's
read.
great.
It's great. I bought it at Shakespeare and Son.
It's never. Oh, I love that store. That store's been there forever.
It's funny. I went there. Before I went.
That's been there since before Shakespeare. You know that.
What?
It's not named for him. It's named for
Steve Shakespeare?
Francois Shakespeare.
No, it's not. When the first time I went to France in 1989, I was a kid.
Okay.
I went to Shakespeare and Son,
Yeah.
and I thought, oh, it's the same. It looks the same.
Yeah. There you go. All right, so let's start off on new movies, Mark. Got a bunch of stuff here.
We do have a bunch of stuff, and I think I'm going to go on record as saying the reconnaissance is over.
The what? Oh, yeah, it is. The reconnaissance. Is that what they were calling it?
Yes, because
Okay.
he came from nowhere. He was like
All right.
he was like a douchebag for
All right.
years, and now suddenly he's a man.
Yeah. Okay.
And the reconnaissance officially ended with Gold, which was directed by Stephen Gaghan, who's look, the guy wrote Traffic.
Did you dislike this movie?
Huh?
Did you dislike this movie?
Yeah, kind of, because I think McConaughey. You know what it is? The problem is that
See,
I was looking at him like an actor again.
Yeah.
Worth admiring.
Yeah.
And then over the course of this movie, mainly because he's like bald for half of it,
Yeah.
I started to look at him like a douchebag again. He was turning back to what he was.
See, I think because it's a true story. For those who don't know, this is it's set in 70s, right? It's 1970s, early 80s, wasn't that the time frame? So it's the story of a mining scandal, and I know you think, oh, great, mining scandal, but it's a really interesting bit of history. And Matthew McConaughey plays this guy who's basically like a modern day prospector. He's always working the deals on this mine of that this ore or something or other. And gold, of course, is the grail, but it doesn't have to be gold. It could be copper. It could be anything. There's just lots of money in any mine. If you can find a mine somewhere, you can make money off it. And so he's a guy who's just working the angles. And then he and Edgar Ramirez, who plays this guy who allegedly found the greatest all-time strike of copper, they wind up becoming partners and hit it big. And then there is this amazing sort of political quagmire that ensues. And I found it interesting, but I also found it somehow missing the mark. And I'm still not quite sure why it missed the mark.
Was it not saying politically or morally what you wanted it to say?
No.
Why?
No, I felt like I was watching a movie that was just barely missing being an awards contender. And it
Was
bugs,
it the script? Maybe the
I
script
don't know.
was not pointed enough.
I don't know. It bugs me because I'm watching it and I'm thinking, this should be working, but it's not. And I to this day, I'm still not quite sure why it just barely misses the mark.
Maybe because he's involved in an industry that it doesn't grab you. You don't want to know what it's like to be in that industry, so even though you find it interesting.
I don't know. I honestly, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. It's because this happens to me like maybe 2 or 3 times a year, where I'll see a film and I'll go, oh, why don't I like this more? And I don't know. Because I want to, but I don't.
Maybe there's just not enough of a sense of urgency to it.
Yeah, well,
that might be it. Maybe there's not enough of a sense of urgency to it.
Maybe
it doesn't feel like an important story.
You like it better if you listen to the commentary. The Gagan commentary is quite good. Gagan's he gives good talk. Some interesting little backstories to this thing too, which are always nice to listen to. There's deleted sequences which is negligible, and then the other featurette's not really into it. I'm gonna keep fighting to try to like this because I feel like I should like it more. It makes me feel guilty. Rings. I don't know why they felt they had to do this. Rings was originally supposed to come out on Friday the 13th last year, and then they bumped it at the last minute. I was on radio that day, and I remember we were looking forward. I was like, okay, great, another Ringu movie, except this one's not based on any J horror film. This is now a fully original American Ring movie. And then they bumped it. I thought, uh-oh. And it was Friday the 13th. What better time to release it? And there was nothing left. There were when was the last time you had a Friday the 13th where there was no major horror film being released? It used to be like a Saw film every single time. And they bumped it, and I thought, that's a bad sign. And, of course, now that we're in the age of YouTube, the resonance of the idea of a videotape. Oh, there's a videotape, and it's to put, like, it's evil and possessed and opens up a portal. It doesn't really carry any resonance anymore. It's like, well, can I watch it on YouTube? So they've tried to go to a social media place, which is, oh my gosh, like if you watch it on YouTube, everyone it's
terrible.
It's not
good.
You
know that movie? I didn't see it, but The Circle, the Tom Hanks Emma Watson thing.
So I did. I had to talk about it on radio yesterday. Did you see it?
No, it's just who wants to see a movie about it feels like like Sandra Bullock's The Net or these Chris Evans Cellular, these cautionary tales that are just trying to
let me tell you,
latch themselves onto a new technology.
I will interrupt this new movie spiel for a quick recap of what Lael and I said yesterday, and we both felt the same way about it, which is that it's just loaded with contrivances, and it ties itself up in the like fastest, tidiest, most unbelievably impossible to believe thing at the end. And there's a little character turn in the middle that makes no sense. The whole thing is not very well constructed. It's based on a novel. It's not well constructed. It's a bit of a mess as a script. However, it is effective despite that, because the idea of this woman who goes to work for this giant company that's basically like if you took Apple and Google and Facebook and you just mashed them all together, and you go to work for that company and you think, oh, this is a great place, and then you discover you've basically gone to work for the Manson family. And you realize that social media, almost too late, you realize that social media is being used not as a way of bringing the world together, but of taking over every institution and every vestige of our lives and our privacy. You kind of suddenly look at your whole social media activity and you want to cleanse. You want to shower.
But it just seems like a B movie from the 90s.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's not even that. It's more like Soylent Green or Logan's Run. Or it's a little bit of 2000. It's very Crichton-y, right? We've invented it's Frankenstein as filtered through Crichton's instincts, invented for the internet generation. That's what it is. We've made a monster. No, but it's a great thing. No, it's a monster. And then when it's too late, you go, oh my gosh, I've made a monster. The internet is the monster. That's all it is.
Okay, who cares? Did you want me to send you the Odyssey? Can I do that?
Yeah, we'll do that later.
Can I do it? Is that like...
I don't know. No, you can do it. I mean, my link isn't working, so...
Well, I'll send you mine.
Yeah, that's fine. Beautiful.
I'll do it right now.
All right.
While you're talking about some crap movie I don't care about.
Yes. So I'm going to talk about Dog's Purpose. Oh, my goodness gracious. Dog's Purpose.
Oh, this one ran into some problems.
Oh, did it ever? So Lasse Hallström became a big deal because he made an amazing Swedish film called My Life as a Dog. And then he had a great Hollywood career, and he got nominated for an Oscar a few times and some Best Picture nominees, and then everything went south. And he is now straight-to-video schmaltzy man. And he made A Dog's Purpose, which is so far from My Life as a Dog, because My Life as a Dog is not really about a dog. It's about a kid. Dog's Purpose is literally about a dog.
Doggy.
It's not just about a dog. It's about a dog who reincarnates as other dogs every time he dies. And every time he dies, he reincarnates as a new dog with a new owner. And you go through these episodes until, he comes back around to his original owner, who was a really good kid originally. And when that kid grows up, he grows up to be Dennis Quaid. And it gets all pointing and weepy at the end.
Spoiler alert.
Well, but everybody knows this.
I love Britt Robertson. Britt Robertson is great.
And she is wonderful. And the thing is that this movie just doesn't hang together because some of the episodes are shorter than others. Some are more conclusive than others. Some are more meaningful than others. There's just, you're treading water. It leans too heavily. And normally dog movies are infectious because you fall in love with the dog. But this is like 5 dogs. And the narration doesn't really work, because that's the one thing that ties it together is that you've got Josh Gad doing the narration, and I can't fall in love with Josh Gad's voice, because he's LeFou. So it's just
your problem is you hate Christmas.
Anyway. So that's A Dog's Purpose, Blu-ray DVD combo set, almost nothing by way of extras. They got they just kind of threw the EPK on here, and that was it.
Now, is there a
Ultraviolet?
Is there a featurette about how they almost killed a dog?
No.
Okay. Read about it if you didn't know about it.
Yeah, that was the thing. The trainer who tried to shove the dog back in the water and. It got and look, yes, that hurt the film for a moment, but it was never going to it was never going to perform. I think if anything, that controversy may have boosted its opening weekend numbers a little and hurt its long-term numbers. So I think it was a wash. A couple other lame ones here. I'm going to get out of the way real quickly. The Autopsy of Jane Doe. This is an IFC midnight film. Almost all it takes place entirely in this really spooky, haunty, creepy coroner's office, where you are basically sentenced to sit for the longest time with Brian Cox and Emile Hirsch. Brian Cox and Emile Hirsch, father and son, coroners, doing a
This movie's not bad. It's actually more effective than you would think.
It's more effective than you would think, but it wasn't great. I mean, it directed by Andre Urvedal, who wanted this. It was a Norwegian director, I believe, and wanted a horror film for his American English language debut. And this was what they chose, I guess, because it was low budget. But the idea that there's like this creepy gothic, coroner's office, and it just, out in the way back behind their house, in the middle of nowhere, where it's impossible to get to. It's sort of like the haunted house contrivance, except with a morgue, or not a morgue, but the coroner's office. Anyway, the idea is that they've got this woman. Her body was unearthed in this one building, and it's like she was, nothing has happened. There's no indication of foul play with her body. And so they perform an autopsy on her, and she's just a Jane Doe. But of course, there's a history to this woman and to this body, and that opens up this whole kind of spooky, supernatural past. And next thing you know, bodies are coming alive, and all kinds of hell is breaking loose, literally. And whatever. I mean, it's got its spooky scares, but the whole premise is just so ridiculous, and it's so contrived to just be in one place. And I've seen too many of those horror films lately where they're just, we have an old and abandoned warehouse. Can we think up some crap idea so we can shoot the whole thing in a warehouse? Okay, fine. And then Monster Trucks on Blu-ray, DVD, and Ultraviolet combo set. This is truly horrendous. This is awful. Did you see this, Mark?
No, because it looked terrible. It looked like a big dud, but look how they packaged it.
Oh my gosh, it's awful.
They packaged it like it's like it's Big Trouble in Little China or something.
Yeah, no, this is really absolutely terrible. This is a truly terrible movie. I guess they aimed this at kids or something. They thought that this would be like a little boy's version. Rob Lowe's in this, by the way. I don't know why. I guess they threw a lot of money at him, boat payments. I don't know. Maybe they thought this would be like a little boy's version of the Fast and the Furious, but it's not. It's just terrible. So bunch of special features on here, but again, it's mostly EPK stuff. I wouldn't waste my time.
Wade, De Niro Remember when we used to love De Niro?
Yeah, why is he doing stuff like this?
I don't know. And you know, and every time De Niro does something like The Comedian, you think maybe he's onto something. Maybe this is the one time where he's actually going to do something we care about.
Yeah, no.
And it turns out to be just another De Niro. I guess he's got. I don't know. You think maybe he wants to work with young directors, but it's directed by Taylor Hackford, who ain't young.
Nope.
And you're like, maybe he wants to work with Leslie Mann, or maybe he's buddies with Danny DeVito. You don't know why.
Taylor Hackford's just phoning it in these days.
I know. Anyway, so De Niro plays a stand-up comic, and he winds up falling in love with this woman played by Leslie Mann. And you know, there was something there about De Niro using his, you know, old school raging bull, not give an F sort of delivery to be a stand-up comic. But the whole thing is just forced and flimsy, and it's too long, and it's just plot cliches everywhere. And I just think that unless you're like, you know, really your grandparents' age, you're just not going to get a kick out of this at all. I just think it's just not very good. So it's hard to say why De Niro does a film. I think De Niro does a film just because it's Tuesday.
Yeah.
And let's do a film. Because I don't think he's reading anything. I don't think he's reading the script. So I'd pass on that. So Bigger, Fatter, Liar is with Ricky Garcia, Jodelle Ferland, and Barry Bostwick. Barry Bostwick, oh my God.
I know, right? Where's he been?
Barry Bostwick has a lot of gray hair now.
Yeah, he does. He was once George Washington. Remember when he played George Washington on TV?
No.
Okay, well, he did. You remember when he was in
he was in
Megaforce?
Yeah, well, that's cool. Megaforce is cool.
No, it's not.
Why not?
Because they shoot Estes rockets off of the fronts of motorcycles. It's ridiculous.
Anyway, so the whole idea is that Ricky plays this kid, and he came up with this amazing idea and so Barry Bostwick is the video game producer who steals it from him. So the kid decides to get his revenge. And, you know, what are you going to say? It's just terrible. I guess if you're 15 years old and you love video games and you want to see, like, you know, your dad tied to a chair, you might think it's funny. But otherwise, Bigger, Fatter, Liar is just not good.
Yep.
Also not good is Sleepless with Jamie Foxx and Michelle Monaghan. What happened to, Michelle Monaghan?
What happened to Jamie Foxx?
I know.
Why is he doing this?
I don't know. You know why? He's probably doing it because it's his movie. This is his movie. It's like, Jamie, here's the thing. It's directed by Baron Bo Ardor, who is some guy who directed a film that no one cares about, but he's cool. And it's going to be a big release, and you're in every single scene, man. And it's about corrupt cops. And remember how Denzel Washington won an Oscar for Training Day playing a corrupt cop? That's you. Yeah. So anyway, Jamie plays a corrupt cop. And, a bunch of gangsters kidnap his son, and he spends all night trying to find his son. Really, he should not. This is a B-movie programmer just inflated into some A-list stratosphere by virtue of the way it's shot, who it stars, the money behind it, and it doesn't even remotely deserve it. I mean, Jamie Foxx just sits there and mutters and glowers, and it's just a lot of plot holes, listless. It's just not great. It's just not a great movie, and I don't know why he's doing this sort of a movie. Makes no sense. Makes no sense.
All right, and I got a couple of low-budget thrillers here. Just make quick mention of The Watcher. Is I guess this is from Monarch. They release a lot of straight-to-video stuff. This is okay. I keep trying to think of other horror films, other thrillers that sort of tread in this same territory, and it's kind of like all of them. There's just too many that do it. It's, you know, people, they buy a home, they think, oh my gosh, it's a wonderful, wonderful house, and as we all know, something happened in the house, something's haunting the house. So it's, you know, it's that thing again. Amityville Horror, I mean, you name it, every haunted house on the hill, it's just on and on and on. So it takes a couple of interesting twists, but otherwise, really, the only reason to see this is because Denise Crosby's in it. And then The Shadow Effect. Jonathan Rhys-Meyers taking a payday for some strange reason, I guess. He doesn't have to do this. It's directed by the brothers Olsen. Don't know who they are. Far too many brother teams making movies these days. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, but the Hughes brothers, they don't make movies anymore.
No, they don't.
We
But
have,
I mean,
the Duffer brothers who did the Netflix thing.
I'm good with that, but it's like, oh my gosh, I'm seeing just so many brother teams making movies. It's very strange. Like the Coens and the Tavianis unleashed a storm, and now every pair of brothers thinks they're going to go make a couple of movies. Like the Marvel guys.
Oh, they're good.
They are good, aren't they?
By the way, I saw Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, how is it? I haven't seen it yet. I've been too busy.
It's good. It's more of the same. I mean, the problem is when you feel obligated to not only give you the same, but give you more of the same.
Yeah.
The 75th time that Rocket Raccoon is annoyed at Chris Pratt, it just gets to be tiresome. But that said,
but Groot is little now.
He's so cute. But
see, that's a fun change.
It is. But what's funny about the Marvel films? What's funny about the Marvel films, which I find interesting, is that they're very good at character. Like they'll decide to make this character change, like he goes from villain to hero. Yeah. Or he dies. Something where just when you think you're about to be tired of a character, or just when you think that the character only has one note, they switch it up. So you don't get tired of the characters. Like in this film, characters die that you never thought would die. In this film, characters turn allegiances that you wouldn't think.
Okay.
So you're always a little bit engaged. So yes, even though it's a little bit tiresome and you're just tired of seeing the explosions and the one-liners and the whatever, I liked it. It's the Guardian films have staked their claim in this little tiny expletive-inflected corner of the Marvel universe, and they just frolic there and they love it.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
So it's good.
So anyway, the Shadow Effect, Jonathan Rhys-Meyers plays a scientist, kind of a mad scientist type guy, but he's a well-meaning mad scientist. And Cam Gigande plays this guy who's having dreams that are haunting premonitions of political assassinations. And Jonathan Rhys-Meyers is trying to research on him, and then it gets really weird, and then it gets very kind of mixes up Frankenstein. We got a lot of that this week. Mixes up Frankenstein a little bit with you're
looking at me?
No, with the Manchurian Candidate.
Okay,
thank you. So anyway, it's a little bit too high concept for its own good. It's trying a little bit too hard. Michael Biehn is in this as well. He and his wife just do all kinds of junk these days. Anyway, not much here, but if it's not terrible. It's just convoluted Shadow Effect. That and The Watcher.
Wade, Resurrection of Gavin Stone is one of those annoying movies that it's a faith-based film, but it's one of those faith-based films where really the point isn't that the guy finds salvation through going back to church and realizing his heathenist ways.
That's the way they all go.
No, but this guy is an actor.
Oh.
And he gets 200 hours of community service. So he has to realize that Hollywood is a cesspool of depravity, and he needs to go back to church to realize what's real.
That's a change, because usually they are baseball, football, basketball players, or golf pros.
I mean,
usually they're athletes.
I mean, this thing is just like, let's spend 90 minutes just proving to you that Hollywood is just a heathenist cauldron and just a pit from hell. And then if you can just find God, everything will be fine, and then Hollywood will go away.
Well, there we go.
That's what it is. So if you like that kind of crap, then it's for you. Mind Gamers is I skimmed this. It's a little bit like The Circle, which is it's a cautionary tale that feels like a B movie. In the film, there's this new computer capability where people can actually transfer their motor skills.
Yeah.
And their abilities to other people. Like for instance, if you were a great pole vaulter, our minds can link, and then you can make me a great pole vaulter. I can have your motor skills. And so, of course, it's all these motor skills, they are connected via a quantum computer.
Oh.
So it's like a bad episode of Star Trek The Next Generation because it's a quantum computer.
I see.
And, of course, what happens is that it all goes bad. And then Sam Neill's got to help figure it out.
Okay. Because
he's Sam Neill, and we love him. So Mind Gamers is basically, this feels like a second-tier sci-fi film. A film for Sci-Fi Channel. A second-tier Sci-Fi Channel film. That's what this feels like to me.
Well. And then very last bit here, we've got one from Wolf, which specializes in LGBT material. And very interestingly, they are not playing up the gay angle of this because it is actually quite an interesting crossover drama. Got a lot of, they just don't want it to be marginalized as something specifically for a very specific audience. And I think that's interesting marketing. But I don't think they had to do that. In any case, Counting for Thunder from first-time director Philip Irwin Cooper. It's basically, and they cop right to this, it's basically like Terms of Endearment, only with a son instead of a daughter. And Mariette Hartley plays the mom. John Hurd is in this as well. John Hurd makes everything better. You know that? He's just such a good actor.
That's cool.
It's amazing. He's done this for decades. Anyway, Mariette Hartley's the mom, and in this case, the health crisis, as it were, it hits her, and as opposed to the son. But otherwise, it pushes a lot of the same buttons, and Philip Irwin Cooper has some chops. He does well with the actors, and it's a neat little script. So, Counting for Thunder, it's worth paying attention to. All right, Mark, look at the swag we got this week. Last week. You weren't here, but I want to show you these sunglasses with eye protection, ultraviolet eye protection. I dare you to wear Purple Swan Princess sunglasses.
You know,
in
actually,
public.
that's a problem with sunglasses. Well, because here's what you do.
Yeah.
You put on a pair of sunglasses, and you're right. So your
Sure.
your pupils open up.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah.
So if your pupils open up and you don't have UV protection,
Right.
now like your eyes being blasted by
Sunburned.
Your eyes are being
Your retina's
destroyed.
yeah.
Right, because sunglasses open your pupils up, so
They
you
do.
need that UV protection.
You
So
do.
the fact that these guys would put UV protection on their glasses
Swan Princess sunglasses.
means that it could be worth it to wear
So-
Swan Princess sunglasses.
So, when you wear your Swan Princess sunglasses in Paris, I want you also to put this Fantastic Beasts name tag on your luggage. And you will be the hit of Paris because you are walking over there with film critic swag.
You know what? I never saw this movie. I never saw it. I did not see
Tim and I talked
Fantastic
about it.
Beasts.
Tim and I talked about it. We
Good?
spared you. And by the way, we also spared you having to sit here and endure me going, a La La Land. Oh, it's so wonderful.
Oh, because the Blu-ray came out.
The Blu-ray came out. By the way, Tuesday was La La Land Day in Los Angeles. Did you know that?
Yeah, you know what?
Did you pay attention to what they did
No,
downtown?
what they do?
You can see all this online. So first of all, there's a La La Fan.movie site, which is where people send videos of themselves performing music from La La Land, and some of it's really amazing. Like there's this couple that does this whole a cappella medley of songs from La La Land. It's really amazing. And then there's a couple that went up to Griffith Park and reenacted that entire scene. Lovely Night. They do the entire song, the entire scene, every bit of the choreography and the dancing, exactly as it is in the movie. It's uncanny.
Well, you know what?
It's terrifying.
Because Ryan Gosling is such a bad dancer, and they had to simplify
No.
all the moves for him.
It's okay.
Many non-dancers can do that move.
But then there was also a big event downtown LA in front of City Hall where they had these dancers on tethers who performed dance moves horizontally against the edge of LA City Hall. It was like it was coming down on cables.
Right.
And then at the end of it all,
Yes.
you could tell that there was a slight embarrassment factor there for Damien Chazelle and for Justin Hurwitz because they're sort of like, okay, we're glad you like our movie, but oh my gosh, really, seriously, the last bit of it was the mayor of Los Angeles sits down at a piano and starts playing La La Land music with like a 4-piece jazz backup.
I didn't know he played piano.
I didn't either.
That's crazy.
It's hysterical.
Was he good?
Not bad. Not bad. He clearly rehearsed for a little bit, He's not like a professional musician, but it was a little bit of a weird moment.
Wow.
Laying the groundwork for re-election.
I heard that Chazelle's new film. He's pitching a film that takes place in Paris.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's nice.
that.
Well, his next film is the Neil Armstrong biopic with Gosling playing Armstrong, and I'm not quite sure how I feel about that, but I love La La Land enough that I will give them the benefit of the
He can
doubt.
do whatever he wants.
All right, let's do the concert-y, music-y stuff. Let's get that out of the way. We got a lot of archival classic movie stuff to pile into, so try to get to that before the end of the show. But what do we got music-wise? Actually, well, you know what? Here talk about baseball first, and then we'll.
God, the Mets, they just effing suck. You know, we got up to a fast start. Like, okay, we're rolling now. We've got our great
The good times
pitchers.
never last, do they?
And then I think we were like 2 for the last 11 or something.
Yeah.
And now we just suck so hard.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily I'm so consumed by Colcoa, and I was in Paris, and my girlfriend was here, that I haven't really drilled down as much as I normally would. But we're terrible. What's not terrible is this Blu-ray that you really should get. It's World Series, the complete Game 7 of the Cubs series, the Game 7. And it was a great, great game. It was one of the best single World Series games ever. It was so dramatic.
I even tuned in at a certain point. I was like, I gotta watch this.
It was so dramatic.
I gotta watch this.
It was amazing. You know, and then they had the rain delay, which made things even crazier. Like, what's gonna happen during the rain delay? So this is, and obviously baseball knows that this game was really off the charts. So this is the Cubs and the Indians Game 7. The Blu-ray is only this game, and it's 2 discs. Disc 2 is, you know, highlights from the Cubs throughout the whole postseason, and then footage from the parade. And so I have to say that if you love baseball, obviously the Cubs fans will get this anyway, but if you're a fan of baseball, I would completely recommend this. I think that game was just completely unforgettable. It was great. So World Series Complete Game 7, go for it.
All right, and then we've got Tupac Assassination Battle for Compton on Blu-ray.
You know, can we stop trying to beatify Tupac? I mean, it's funny how like he was like this rapper, you know, and then he dies and he becomes like a thug angel.
Yeah,
he's a thug angel.
Okay,
poor baby.
I don't know.
Thug angel.
Yeah, I don't know if we're beatifying him quite so much. It's more the contradiction between the man and his work. All right. So anyway, Tupac Assassination Battle for Compton is part of the it's part of a series looking at, you know, the issues surrounding his killing, basically, and it's of interest probably only if you're really a diehard Tupac person. If you're into the whole conspiracy theory that, you know, his killing and Biggie and all that there was this whole East-West thing going on. If that is of interest to you, then this will be of interest. Lots of interviews here with, prosecutors and police and law enforcement and witnesses and people who knew this and that and the other thing. So, I mean, it's less about the music than the man, and that I think is kind of the weakness of it. But if that's your deal, you know, you're not really going to care. Mm-hmm. You're gonna want to further that. Mm-hmm. On a brighter note, we have the John Williams Steven Spielberg Ultimate Collection, and this is pretty great. It's a CD set. It's 3 CDs and a DVD, and the DVD includes the documentary Steven Spielberg and John Williams: The Adventure Continues, which is a Laurent Bouzereau documentary, which is perfectly fine. It's not amazing. It's not brilliant. Although Bouzereau's, you know, what is brilliant is Bouzereau's, you know, because Bouzereau does a lot of featurettes for DVDs, right?
Sure.
He's like our friend Charles.
Yep.
He does all that documentary stuff. But his Five Came Back documentary is amazing.
Oh, which, you know what, I've not seen yet.
Oh my gosh, that's his masterpiece.
Wow.
Because you're like, okay, this guy does featurettes and behind the scenes things. Okay, fine, fair enough. And then Five Came Back. You watch that and you go, this is a great doc. This is amazing. Huh. Like, stop doing all that other stuff and just do this. Be like a feature doc guy. Huh. That's what you should do. It's really amazing.
I've not seen it.
Oh, wow. It's fantastic.
Well, I really want to, but I just haven't.
It's great.
Because I'm too busy watching French films.
Yeah. You know what else is great is the Great War, the PBS thing on World War I.
Oh, yeah?
It's really good. Yeah. It's really good. Anyway, this is the Spielberg-Williams collaboration. And the CDs are, you know, everything that you would want. It's all new performances, new recordings, but it's, you know, it's all the great themes and all the great suites that you want. E.T. and Schindler's List and, you know, Hook, on and on and on. I mean, it's great. It's just terrific. And it's just a wonderful... If you don't know what's coming next, it's great. The music all kind of flows and it brings back memories of the music. It's a lot of fun.
And you know what? Now that Spielberg has... officially is not using John Williams for all of his films anymore.
Well, I mean, he just did because Williams was working on something else or he was sick. I can't remember what it was.
I don't know, but it makes me sad.
Yeah.
That's all I can tell you.
And then lastly, on the music front, We Are X. This is the people who made this are the guys who did the Academy Award winner Searching for Sugar Man, which won an Oscar back in 2012. So it is extremely well done. However, I don't really get into the music here. So X Japan is the band, and it's not my kind of deal. So if you like it, I guess, let that be your guide. This was, they threw this at South by Southwest, and people liked it there because, it's music and movies, and the festivals are back to back, the music and the movie festival down there. But anyway, we are X. So well done, but I mean, X Japan, not my scene.
What is my scene is The Salesman.
Oh, yes.
Which is directed by the great Asghar Farhadi.
We do like him very much.
Very, very much.
He's now a 2-time Oscar winner.
That's right. And this is about a young couple. They are, when they're living in Tehran, and when their apartment gets damaged, they have to move out. They move into a new apartment. And then once they're relocated, they realize that the previous tenant, right, of their new apartment is a little past a little history of violence with that previous tenant of the apartment they're living in, and how that whole thing kind of creates a lot of tension between the husband and the wife. That's all I will tell you, because I think this thing is great. I think he is great, and the way that he the way that he combines character and conflict is just great. Like, everything is done with character. Like, when there's a little piece of conflict comes, how does it affect the marriage? It's all about how it affects the marriage, how it affects their relationship. It's I thought it was just exquisite. It's really good. And the thing is that it's ultimately kind of a bit of a suspense thriller, but it's not like, it's not like a Death Wish film or anything like that. It's just very intense, but kind of quiet. I just thought it was great. I just think I think this guy has just got it, and I can't wait till he comes to America and does an Avengers film.
I hope that doesn't happen. And a few other foreign language films this week of worth mentioning is a Korean film called The Tunnel, actually just called Tunnel. There's no the on it. And there are a lot of movies with Tunnel or The Tunnel as their title. So make sure that if you're going to look this one up, this is the Korean one. This is about a guy who a tunnel collapses on him. And kind of in World Trade Center, was that that's the Oliver Stone film? Kind of in a World Trade Center way, and then the film basically focuses on on his survival ordeal and what they're doing to rescue him and so forth and so on. And it's claustrophobic, but it's not obviously kind of self-indulgently claustrophobic. It's not like Ryan Reynolds trapped in a coffin or any of that. It really actually it makes it works the angle of its conceit in a way that you don't feel like it's gimmicky. So that's Tunnel. And then we also have a Turkish film here, Naciye, Naciye. I'm sure I didn't pronounce that as the way it's supposed to be pronounced. But anyway, this is a thriller that goes into some kind of creepy horror-ish areas. It's the kind of film you would expect to be an American horror film, really. It's a couple who go out into the middle of nowhere to occupy this remote rented house because she's pregnant, and they want to go somewhere where the last trimester can sort of be tranquil. Now, if that doesn't sound like a recipe for just, let's go move next door to a serial killer so our child can be born. I mean, it feels a little bit obvious, but there are people out there who like that kind of stuff. So whatever. It's a Turkish film, which makes it a little even creepier for some reason. And then from Cinema Libre, The Girl from the Brothel is actually quite a good film. This is in English and Khmer. This is about a woman photographer, who goes to Cambodia to kind of try to surprise, but also patch things up with her husband. And she wants to. They have some issues. I won't get into what those issues are, but they want to do a thing. And anyway, the trip to Cambodia doesn't turn out quite as pastoral as she might expect. Things happen, and she has to make some crucial decisions in her life, and yada yada yada, on and on and on. And then Cambodia winds up becoming a metaphor for. I mean, I'm being really circumspect because I don't want to give anything away. Becomes sort of a metaphor for this new journey in her life. So in any case, The Girl from the Brothel has some really, really powerful stuff in it. This did not get a theatrical release here. It's played all kinds of festivals. It's a little bit of a difficult sell on a number of levels, but I do recommend it.
You know what I recommend?
Yeah.
Staying alive. Don't die. Stay alive. Now, here's the thing with the Saturday Night Fever director's cut. This is the real deal, man. This is a new 4K restoration.
But it's a Blu-ray. It's a 4K restoration, but it's a Blu-ray.
Yeah, it's Blu-ray. It's not a 4K Blu-ray, but it's a 4K restoration completed under the supervision of John Badham. So this is not just your normal blam blam. This is like, this might be worth an upgrade, folks. If you don't have Saturday Night Fever, first of all, shame on you. Second of all, Wade's going to give me this.
Oh, no. I gotta introduce my daughter to some Travolta-ness. So she hasn't experienced Travolta yet. She's been into Sound of Music last week, so we gotta BG it up this week.
Now, luckily, we have the director's cut and the theatrical cut. So if you don't really like what Badham did to this thing, you can have the original cut, which is a good thing. There's an audio commentary by Badham on the theatrical version, and a bunch of new and old featurettes. If you don't know, ask your parents. But Saturday Night Fever was a complete phenomenon at the time. And I remember, this is the 40th anniversary, by the way. I remember when my father was hanging out with his best friend, who was a real bell-bottom disco guy, and he came home with his Saturday Night Fever soundtrack on record, and they played that thing into the ground.
Yeah.
It was just crazy. So, this is Travolta and Karen Gorney. What happened to her? Karen Gorney. And John Badham directed. John Badham directed a couple of really good films back then. People don't realize.
He did War Games and Blue Thunder in the same summer.
Yes.
Same summer.
Isn't that crazy?
Love it.
Sweet. Anyway, recommended.
And then the last of our, we're now into classic movies, and I'm going to blow through some huge ones right here. But the last of these kind of one-offs here is from Mill Creek, Space Hunter Adventures in the Forbidden Zone on Blu-ray. Not a 3D Blu-ray, I would point out, even though this movie was released in 3D. So that remains this is directed by Lamont Johnson, who was a big TV director at the time. Not sure why they had him do this. This was kind of one of those Mad Max knockoffs. It was like a sci-fi film on another planet, but it was very Mad Maxy, and took a lot of its cues. You know, here's the thing about Space Hunter Adventures in the Forbidden Zone. When I first got my job as an usher at a theater right out of high school, first year at UCLA, worked in the Man's National, this is the film that was playing. For one more week, the last week of this thing's run, before Twilight Zone, the movie, opened. That's what I endured with Space Hunter. This thing is so hilariously terrible. And the classic bit here is that early on in the film, where you have the model spaceship kind of crash landing thing, if you look in the background, you can see the parking lot where they actually set up the miniature.
Oh.
You can see that on screen. It's pretty awesome.
Richard Strauss, by the way, he's the guy you got if you couldn't get Richard Chamberlain.
That's true.
So if you're doing a B movie and you can't get Chamberlain, Richard Strauss.
And Molly Ringwald was just trying to sort of become a thing at this time, and would go on to a much better career, obviously, with John Hughes movies. But in any case, Michael Ironside, by the way, plays Overdog. So if you don't recognize the scary, badass, psycho dude who plays the Mad Maxy kind of villain in this thing, yeah, it's Michael Ironside.
Terrible.
Ernie Hudson's in this too, before, like pre Ghostbusters. It's a lot of fun.
There's this funny,
and by a lot of fun, I mean not really fun.
There's this funny recurring bit in Guardians of the Galaxy where one of the villains' name is Taserface. Right?
Yeah.
So he always says his name as if like, you will feel the wrath of Taserface. And everybody laughs because his name is so stupid and he doesn't realize it. It's funny.
So we got some 4K. We got some 4Ks this week too. Real quickly, 310 to Yuma, the remake with Russell Crowe and Christian Bale, is out on 4K. How did you feel about this? I'm just curious.
Oh, I loved it.
Did you love
Great.
this?
Yes.
I like it, but
first of all, it was.
Is it better than the original?
It was Ben. Yes, it was.
Okay.
First of all, it was Ben Foster's. It was his coming out party.
Yeah,
he was great.
True, he is.
There was also I mean, his thing. Mangold had Copland, right? And then
he hasn't done anything since.
He was a little bit in the wilderness, right? And then he does 3:10 a Yuma, and you're like, oh my God, this guy's
Whoa. Well, what's he done since?
Huh?
What's he done since?
Mangold's done a bunch. He does.
But I mean, good. What's he done of like?
Logan?
Really good.
I like Logan.
He did do Logan, didn't he? Yeah, I haven't seen
good.
Logan yet. I haven't
Good.
seen Logan yet.
Violent as hell, man. That thing is violent.
So I take it back. He made Logan. All right. Anyway, 3:10 to Yuma. I still struggle with this movie a little bit. I'm not sure why. It's got great suspense, but maybe I'm too attached to the original. Anyway, 4K Ultra HD. Heaps and heaps and heaps of stuff on here. Featurettes galore. And an audio commentary with Mangold. And I will say, as a 4K, it's really good looking. The Expendables 1 and 2, I don't know that these really need to be on 4K, but they are now. And they also have heaps of stuff on here. Audio commentary with Simon West. Audio commentary with Sylvester Stallone. I mean, it's, the third one is terrible. Okay, the third one is just horrendous. I am fond of The Expendables 2 only because Chuck Norris makes one of the all-time great entrances in the history of movies, which is it just makes the whole thing worthwhile. It's still rather silly, but you know what? Stallone found a late career resurgence with this franchise, and you got to sort of tip your hat to him for doing it.
He's in Guardians also.
Stallone is?
For like 5 seconds. He
Really?
literally is in it for one scene. You're like, what is he doing in this film? But like Marvel, I would imagine he probably shows up in one of the later films, but I don't know that.
All right, Mark, here we go. We're speed round. We're getting near the end of the show. So speed round. First off, Kino Lorber, and I'm going to get you can take a load off because Wade's just going to burn through these things super fast. Kino Lorber, Studio Classics. Unbelievable bunch of titles this month. Really, this is just great stuff. This is occasionally, sometimes, there's sort of a film in there or two where you go, well, somebody just needed to sort of get it out. But no, this stuff is all really, really worth checking out. This is a great bunch of movies. The Anthony Simmons directed 1973 film The Optimists with Peter Sellers, where Sellers plays this fascinating kind of Pied Piper-like street performer. It's just a really, really an interesting film, really one of the more interesting films from the early 70s. And Anthony Simmons really never had much of a career, but this is a very interesting film. Produced, I should point out, by George Martin. It came out of the whole Beatles movie moment. And speaking of Pied Piper, that brings us to a film that has also similar sensibilities from the previous year, The Pied Piper from 1972. A delightful film directed by none other than a man who is one of the direct inspirations for La La Land, Jacques Demy. And Jacques Demy just does a wonderful job with this. Now, there's an older Pied Piper movie starring Van Johnson, which I grew up with, which is okay. It's fine. Has a certain kind of Hollywood golden era sheen to it, but the Jacques Demy film is way, way better. It really captures the magic of the story of the Pied Piper of Hamelin. Great art direction. Donald Pleasance is just fantastic in this. Jack Wilde, who had just done Oliver, the Oscar-winning Oliver, a few years earlier, is just incomparable. And then on top of it, you get, John Hurt and Donovan. It is a great movie. Back when Paramount made terrific movies in the 1970s. I mean, this is not, this is 1972. This is the same year as The Godfather. Paramount made the Pied Piper and Godfather in the same year. Those daring young men in their jaunty jalopies with Tony Curtis and Peter Cook and Dudley Moore is delightful. Ken Anakin, made kind of a franchise out of the daring young men and their flying machines and their jaunty jalopies. It was a momentary franchise, and it's a lot of fun. It's an awful lot of fun. And with Peter Cook and Dudley Moore, who were at their peak, and Tony Curtis, of course, who was doing all kinds of stuff like this roughly around this time. It's just fantastic. It's absolutely a delight. So I cannot recommend this highly enough. There's a typo on the packaging of this, though, I should point out. The movie was made in 1969. They indicate 1945. Not true. Somebody mistyped something. But anyway, so I mean, if you like Moore and Cook, if you like flying machines, the young man are flying machines. If you like Tony Curtis and The Great Race, it all comes together here, and it's a lot of fun. And then Jackie Gleason and Papa's Delicate Condition. All I should have said is just this is a Jackie Gleason movie, and that should be enough for you. It's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And it's a little bit like Life with Father, only with Jackie Gleason swapped in. This is from 1963, and it's one of the best things that Jackie Gleason ever did. It really is. It's just a sheer delight and a tremendous cast. And Glynis Johns, who was so delightful in Mary Poppins a few years later, is also just wonderful in it. A Jerry Lewis movie, Don't Give Up the Ship. This is one of Jerry Lewis's lesser-known films from 1959, before his really his very best stuff really took off in the 60s. But this is great. I mean, it's still incredibly funny. Directed by Norman Taurog, who directed a lot of his best stuff. And this is a new master from a 4K scan, and it's great. I mean, the whole thing is. It's just kind of just after World War II, and there's a Senate investigation that Jerry is central to, and it's he's on his honeymoon, and it just gets wacky and funny and silly, and it's just sympathetic. Jerry's the best. One of the first movies I ever saw on television is this movie, James Stewart in Broken Arrow. You ever seen Broken Arrow?
If I have, I don't remember.
It's really, actually, I remember it so well just because it captivated me when I was, I don't know, 4 years old. I must have been 4 watching television. But it's when they would show westerns like Saturday afternoons. This is from 1950, and it's just one of those great Jimmy Stewart westerns. He's just right after the Civil War, a few years after the Civil War, and he's fighting Apaches, and it hits all of those great Western archetypes from that era. So this is and it's a good looking Blu-ray as well, Broken Arrow. And then lastly, Ernest Hemingway's Farewell to Arms, with Rock Hudson and Jennifer Jones and Vittorio De Sica in a rare acting role, the great director. This was a Selznick production from 1957, and it still is one of the best adaptations ever of an Ernest Hemingway novel. It's been on DVD and various public domain versions for years, and this is finally an authorized Blu-ray of it, and it really, really does look very, very good. It's a 4K restoration. They went to town. They really, really tuned everything up. The colors are rich. It's really saturated. And Charles Vidor, not to be confused with King Vidor, does an outstanding job really kind of maintaining the story but giving it a classic Hollywood golden era sheen. So that's terrific. That's all we have from the Kino Lorber Studio Classics. And then we have from Twilight Time, Mark. We've got some Twilight Time.
Yay, we like them.
Love Twilight Time as well. You can go to twilightimemovies.com to find these. We've got The Fortune Cookie, Jack Lemmon, Walter Matthau, Billy Wilder.
Love it.
It's great, isn't it?
How can you not?
How can you not?
What a great pickup for Twilight Time.
Oh, fantastic. This is one of the better Billy Wilder, Izzy Diamond movies from their collaboration. It's a
little overlooked, actually, because when you think of them, you think of other films.
You think of Some Like It Hot,
yeah.
Right? But this, to me, is every bit the equal of Some Like It Hot. I really think this is a great movie. It came at a time when Billy Wilder was sort of not so much a thing anymore, right? Late 60s, 1966, we're sort of moving away from the Billy Wilder moment. And
he comes back and does it.
And he comes back and does it. Does a beautiful job. Jack Lemmon's a TV cameraman who suffers a certain injury, and then there's this whole insurance scam that happens, and it's really great. It's just really, really great. If you haven't seen it, you need to see this. You need to add this to your Billy Wilder compendium. And then, of course, Twilight Time has been doing a lot of work with the old Woody Allen catalog, and here's one of his better dramas, Another Woman, which is, I think this ages really, really well. The cast is so amazing, and now that some of these people aren't really in movies anymore, you kind of look back on this and you go, wow, I wish those people would make a movie again. Here's your cast, okay? Martha Plimpton. That's as bad as it gets. Sandy Dennis, Blythe Danner, Mia Farrow, Gene Hackman, Ian Holm, John Houseman, Jenna Rowlands. Come on.
Well, that's because people would do anything to work with Woody.
That's
Everybody wanted to
amazing.
work with Woody.
That's an amazing cast.
Of course it is.
It's an amazing cast. That alone, isolated music track, as they have on all of these these Twilight Time titles is also wonderful. This is another film that is often overlooked, which I just absolutely adore. Directed by William Wyler, How to Steal a Million. Peter O'Toole, Audrey Hepburn, William Wyler. I shouldn't have to say anything else. That is just absolutely fantastic.
Look at Peter O'Toole.
Right?
He's
young,
so handsome and rakish.
Oh, so awesome. This is a wonderful comedy. This is from 1966, just on the cusp of William Wyler going and doing Funny Girl with Barbra Streisand, and you can tell that he's sort of exercising those same muscles. He's getting into a different vein. You know, Wyler was always a guy who, I mean, he made a lot of different kinds of movies, but you look back, it's like Ben-Hur and Detective Story and The Best Years of Our Lives. I mean, Mrs. Miniver, heavier movies, right? Typically heavier movies. He's getting into he's getting the 60s thing. He's getting into that frothy 60s moment. And it's just wonderful. It's really, really wonderful. And Hugh Griffith, who he directed to an Oscar in Ben-Hur, is in this as well. Plays a forger, the father of Audrey Hepburn. It's a lot of fun. It's just a delightful movie. How to Steal a Million. And then lastly from Twilight Time, You'll Never Be Rich, which is also sheer and complete and utter and total delight. Fred Astaire and Rita Hayworth. It's Hollywood golden era magic. Isolated music and effects track and a trailer are the only extras on here, but this is just 1940s filmmaking with no equal. Fantastic Cole Porter music. Just beautifully done. Classic studio era machine factory stuff. It's the dialogue is snappy. It's just wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. You know, if you just want to see these two stars at their very best, you'll never get rich. And I, of course, still have a real affection for Rita Hayworth, just because
she was so hot.
There's our family connection. You know, my father knew her. My father taught her.
She was hot.
And her dad was my father's dancing instructor at his school.
So did your father meet Orson Welles?
I'm sure he did. Never mentioned it. Never talked about it. I mean, Laurel and Hardy, yes. Lots of other figures. Never Orson Welles. I'm not sure that my father was really connected to the Hayworths once she was at that stage. It's more than 1930s when she was a little girl, teenager. That's when my father knew her.
So hot.
Yeah. And then I want to wrap things up here. We're over time, so I'll just real quickly. Mark, how do you feel about Donnie Darko?
I've softened on it.
Have you?
I was one of those guys that this thing is just weird. Will you just please stop being weird and just tell me a story?
So from the Arrow Video line, Arrow Video has gone completely over the edge here. They have given us the Donnie Darko monster big cheese mega set like I've never seen. I have almost never seen a single film get a special treatment like this. This rivals Criterion. This thing is a monster. This is the Donnie Darko director's cut, the theatrical cut.
The movie does not deserve all this.
This is insane. This thing weighs like 5 pounds.
I mean, Richard Kelly.
It's a brick.
Richard Kelly, as a director, has done nothing since this film. Southland Tales was horrible.
Yeah.
The Box, horrible. It's just horrible. You know what it is. The only thing I'll say about Donnie Darko is that as weird as it is, it's nice to see, I guess, a young filmmaker just take a huge shot like that.
Yeah.
Right? Which was a little unusual for the time. Nowadays, everybody it's a little bit more cool to do that. But I guess I'd rather have him try and fail than not try. So
it is. I'll say this: independent of Richard Kelly, who I have very mixed feelings about, I think this is the best work Stephen Poster has ever done as a cinematographer. I'm very partial to Stephen Poster because we sat with him once during a LAFCA dinner, and he and my wife just had, because she was doing a lot of post-production supervision at the time, and they had all kinds of chats about this and that and the other thing. And he's a wonderful man. And I think he just kills it. This is an amazing job of cinematography by any measure. He is one of the best, and this proves it. But, you really have to love this movie to get this brick. This thing has so many special features on it, so many extras. If you watch the movie and then the director's cut, if you watch every cut of this film and then all the extras, it'll be like it'll be President Ivanka Trump by the time that you're done with it.
I am so cross-mental.
It's just, this is strictly fan stuff. And that is quite a number from Arrow. So they really, they did a number with that. In any case. All right, so that's it. That's it for this week. We will be back next week with more fun and frolic. And Mark, we've never had a sign-off, have we? Never had a sign-in.
You just press space bar on your laptop and then the show is over.
All right, there we go.